computer. Hi everyone. I would love to welcome Professor Marc Cohen to this incredible interview that I'm about to do with him, and we are so blessed to have Marc share his wisdom, and I'm very, very blessed to call Marc a dear friend. He's just, I believe, the bridge between medical science and wellness, and I want to ask you, Marc, I've had so much interest in regard to the water filters, and I really would love to ask you, first of all, can you tell us, as a overriding question, what type of chemicals are found in water, and in particular tap water, and why is it so important to remove them?
Sure. Well, thank you for inviting me to be part of this. I think the delivery of clean water is the most powerful health intervention you can do for anybody. I mean, water is the infrastructure of our life. 99% of our molecules are water, 2/3 of our volume and mass is water. So getting water right is so important. And currently in our tap water, there are so many things wrong with it. Since about the end of the Second World War, we've been putting chlorine in water, and that's to avert public health disasters like typhoid and cholera. But chlorine is a war chemical, was first used to humans in the First World War. And the reason why they use chlorine is it's such a potent poison, and it's designed to kill bacteria. We've been doing that for almost 100 years in a lot of municipalities and government water treatments. But that was before we realised that bacteria are actually our friend, and that 90% of the genetic information in our bodies are bacterial DNA inside our gut, and there's also bacteria on our skin that helps protect us from the outside world, and that these bacteria in our gut and on our skin are under constant assault from the chlorine in our tap water. And it's not only through our drinking, it's through bathing. If you think about how much water we use at home, we use maybe 10 times as much for bathing than we do for drinking. An average bath will be 180 litres. A shower might be more, 200 litres, where you might drink a couple of litres. And when you bathe in water that's maybe 35, 38, 40 degrees, so the water's warm. And when it's warm, all the volatile compounds come out, including chlorine and all the chloramine. So you can smell it, you absorb that in your skin, you absorb that through your lungs, and you get a really big toxic load from bathing as well as from drinking. But it's not just chlorine, and with chlorine, there's free chlorine, which is an oxidizing agent. That's what they use to kill bacteria. But there's also the chloramines, which are these organic chlorine compounds that chlorine forms when it oxidizes organic material. And that's like the trihalomethanes and other chlorine, even DDT organochlorines, the first range of pesticides that kill life, were organochlorines. And chlorine itself has been called the devil's element because it's so toxic to life in free form. Chlorine is in salts, okay, but in free form of chloramines, it's very strong oxidizing agent. And the chloramines are really irritant to our respiratory system, to the mucous membranes of our eyes and our nose, to our skin, to our hair, and they have carcinogenic properties and general toxicity. So chlorine and chloramines is something we really want to remove before we drink or bathe in water. But that's not, that's just the start of it. There's also biological pathogens. So there's viruses, there's bacteria, there's spores, there's fungi, there's mold. And even though chlorine is such a potent poison, it won't kill viruses like hepatitis A. It won't kill Giardia and Cryptosporidium spores. So even though our water is treated by chlorine, there's still public health outbreaks that have, say, Cryptosporidium, which gives you diarrhea, because chlorine won't kill it. So these things can be in our municipality water supply, but also in bore water or tank water. So you really want to make sure your water's free of viruses, bacteria, protozoa, worms, mold, spores, and all these biological agents that can be in our water.
Right.
And then we've got a whole range of heavy metals and radioactive elements. And heavy metals get released into the air from coal-fired power stations, from burning fossil fuels, so things like mercury and lead, and they end up in our water supply. And radioactive elements are the same. And these are also really toxic because they're very hard for our body to remove, and they replace other elements in our body and cause long-term damage. So it's really important to get rid of heavy metals and radioactive elements. And then there's a whole range of volatile organic compounds. These are things that give the odour and flavour to water, which shouldn't really have an odour and flavour, but give the nasty odour and flavours to water. And then there's sediments such as rust and just particulate matter that can form in water. And there's colloidal iron and non-colloidal iron that you want to remove. And finally, there's a whole range of residues from chemicals we use commonly, such as antibiotics, pharmaceutical drugs, pesticides, and fire retardants that end up in our waterways. So we're actually getting doses of fire retardants and pesticides, and even oral contraceptive pill and antidepressants and other pharmaceutical residues for our water supply. And finally, there's a whole range of pollutants, which are caused by industrial activity, solvents, burning fossil fuels that end up in the water supply. So there's this huge range of toxic insults we're getting from our water, and water is the basic infrastructure of our bodies. So, as I say, it's fine to chlorinate water to get rid of the pathogens. You want to dechlorinate water. You want to filter the water before you put it on your body or in your body.
Oh, that's absolutely incredible, Mark. Like, to just hear that. I have so many people who say to me, I've got a water filter for drinking. But when you were talking about how we expose ourselves to all of these, all of the things that you just mentioned by way of bath water and by way of showering as well, that's why, I try and share with people all the time why it is so important to have like a whole house filter, because we spend a lot of time, in water, and I'm Piscean like you. So I love my baths, and, it's so beautiful to have a bath in a bath that is actually clean and water as it should be. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a trick that I've been using when I go to hotels where I just put the bath in pure hot water and leave the fan on, and come back an hour later when the water's cooled down and then have my bath. And that's one way you can outgas the chlorine before you have a bath. When I travel to hotels and things.
Well,
we get a huge exposure, I think. But even water filters at home, there might be an activated carbon water filter. Generally, they won't remove all the biological agents. They won't remove a lot of heavy metals and some of the pesticide residues, or even chloramine. So, filtering is quite a complicated thing. Water is so complicated. There are 72 anomalies, scientific things we don't understand about water. But the things we do understand makes it really complicated, and all the toxic stuff that goes in the water makes it complicated, and then the possible solutions. So I've tried, I've delved into the research for the last 30 years. I've been studying medicine, more 30 years I've been practicing medicine. And always comes up that water is the most powerful thing you can do to help people. And I've tried to simplify it with these extreme wellness water filters, which get rid of the widest range of toxic elements and compounds, and can do that at a volume and a flow rate that you can bathe in.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you, Mark. We will talk on another webinar regarding some other questions that I have, but I just want to thank you. Thank you for providing the world with these world-class water filters. So you have 3 types. We'll go into those, but if anyone is listening and watching this and they would like to find out more about these water filters, please message me, or better still, go to innerorigin.com/Therese Kerr. I can send you the link. I'll include the link in this post to the actual website where you can purchase these. Also, I can send you a PDF in regard to that. There is no one more versed in relation to how to filter water or to know about water than Professor Marc Cohen. So thank you, Mark. Thank you for sharing your wisdom.